Hello everyone, welcome back to another debunking slash reaction video. So in this video we're going to be reacting to someone who does mass bedrock breaking in a video, but he's not very well versed in the subject. So he actually cheats, and he tries to cover it up, but it's actually pretty poorly done. So in this video we're going to see how that happens. Alright, so this is the video. It's by Beppo. You can see 600,000 subscribers. And a lot of them, if you go down to the comments, a lot of them are just like not even noticing that he cheated. They're just talking about some moment in the thing and saying like good job," which is fine. But like, I mean, he cheated, and we'll see this in this video. So let's get started with this. Alright, so now he just did a little intro at the beginning, nothing special, but let's continue on.
Plan is to dig out a 100 by 100 by 100 cube in the nether and then make biomes and structures so it looks good. But
So obviously he's going to employ some three-way bedrock breaker, and he actually does. I'm not being sarcastic here. He actually does.
cube in the nether and then make biomes and structures so it looks good. But the problem is all this bedrock is in the way, and breaking a single piece of bedrock took this entire sentence to do. Man, if only I had a machine that could break a 100 by 100 bedrock. Oh, look at that.
Okay, so he has a machine. Thing is, this machine is over a year old by now. So there's actually way more updated versions of three-way bedrock breakers. So the bedrock breaker that he's actually going to use is Kennial V3 bedrock breaker. So it's this one. So just a little bit of background. All these bedrock breakers are based around this guy, Desktop Folder. Really cool channel in my opinion. So he does a few bedrock breaking videos. So for example, at the beginning he has a three-way bedrock breaker that I'm pretty sure is the first one of its kind, and that's why it's so big. And then other people made three-way bedrock breakers as well, like Kenniel here. And then probably the most recent one is XYOR. So this is the more recent version of a bedrock breaker. You can just see it's a lot smaller, a lot more compact, and just overall nicer to use because it creates less overhead. So that's just some background about these three-way bedrock breakers. Nothing to show that he's cheating yet, but this just goes to show that he didn't do a lot of research and he's not very well versed in this area of Minecraft.
I already spent 20 hours of my life building.
Okay.
Okay, he said he spent 20 hours building it. It doesn't take 20 hours to build this. Like, I've never actually built this specific one, and in my opinion, no one should at this point because there's just better versions. Not like hating or anything on this machine. It's a really great machine because it's one of the first, but like, there's just better versions nowadays. So anyway, what I'm saying is, so I've not actually built this machine myself, but from building other machines such as this, I can estimate that maybe it could probably be done within 5 hours because it's it's complicated, but it's by far not the most complicated machine. 5 hours, I'm saying like being very generous because of course he is kind of new to this stuff, but like it would probably take even less than that. But anyway, let's continue.
Oh, look at that. I already spent 20 hours of my life building it. You're welcome. And you start the machine by breaking this block right here. There it goes. I just
Okay, so something kind of weird here happens. So what he does is he's gonna start the machine, and then he's gonna do like a cut and do something else, and then he's gonna go back to the machine working. So watch this.
the machine by breaking this block right here. There it goes. I just now realized I could have just planted a sapling and then grown it like this instead of building these trees manually. Yeah, I'm an idiot. Although the bedrock breaking machine isn't 100% complete, all I have to do is add these pistons. There we go. Let's check on the machine. All right, looks like
Right, so that's kind of an interesting cut because like the time it took from him breaking that redstone block and those TNT starting to drop would be the amount of time that it just takes him to fly up here and get into this camera angle. But he did some weird cut where like he did something else on the side and then this. So he also placed in some pistons and slabs and stuff. This is already kind of suspicious because he didn't time lapse the whole thing. And normally for grindy stuff like this, if you're recording the whole thing, you want to make a time lapse because it looks cool, it's kind of satisfying, and it just shows that he actually did it. But this is already kind of suspicious. Let's move on.
it. Wait. I thought it
Oh
was
yeah, it's definitely broken. This could happen for a number of reasons. So reason number one, he doesn't know how to use Lightmatica. He doesn't use Lightmatica at all, and he just looked at another world on another window, and then he was just copying off of that, which is a very bad idea for these kinds of machines, especially Slimestone and complicated stuff. It's like building without Lightmatica is a very bad idea. So another thing that could have happened is he actually did use Lightmatica, and he used the paste command in Lightmatica, and he didn't turn off fill updates in his world, so it actually updated some observers when he pasted in the machine, and that automatically activated some parts of the machine that shouldn't have gotten activated, and it just broke before you started it. So again, there's no evidence to prove whichever of these happened, but I'm just saying those are the two most likely possibilities, because if you're actually using Lightmatica legit, then there's a tool to actually check if you have all the stuff built correctly. And all you have to do is look at that tool and see, oh wait, I didn't place this block, or I placed this extra block, or something like that. And then you just don't get stuff like this happening. But this is probably what happened. Alright, let's move on.
No. What? It just blew itself up. No. Okay. Stop it. There we go. It literally blew itself up. In case you don't know, that's not what's supposed to happen. Okay.
Okay, 20 minutes? If this actually fixes it, 20 minutes to fix something like this? If he's saying it took him 20 hours to build this, so this is completely unrealistic. And anyway, what it looks like he did is
I think I fixed it.
like just update observers and stuff to move stuff around, which very bad idea for fixing it. What you really want to do if you ever break a machine is put Lightmatica on top of it, and then just remove the affected parts, remove the parts that are like not lining up with Lightmatica, and then just build it all over again. Like not the whole machine, but build those parts over again. Or you could like if it's really far gone, then you just want to build the whole machine over again. It's not worth it to try to fix mistakes like this. But in case it's a small mistake, again, just don't try to mess around with any observers or anything. You're just going to make it worse if you don't know what you're doing. Just remove the thing that's not supposed to be where it is and rebuild it where it is actually supposed to be.
Okay. All right. All right. It looks like I think it's working now. It's not blowing itself up.
Alright, so he actually got it working. Alright, so basically what he does here is just plan out him digging out the entire area under the bedrock that he wants to break. So the thing is, I would recommend doing this after you break the bedrock, because for one thing, he's going to use the three-way TNT deeper anyway. So I would recommend doing that after you break the bedrock, so you don't have to do more things that you actually have to. Because with his way, what he's going to do is remove this stuff under the bedrock, then break the bedrock on top, and then remove the world underneath it. Now what I recommend you do is just break all the bedrock on top, then remove the world underneath it. That's 2 steps.
Okay, back to mining.
Wait a minute. You guys notice anything suspicious? So, by the way, I didn't cut out anything that he just did previous to this, like a couple seconds ago, up to here. You guys notice anything suspicious? Because I certainly do. So, in case you don't know how these bedrock breakers work, is that they remove one layer at a time. So, you run this one, it's gonna remove just the top layer. Then you're gonna have to build another one lower, and it's gonna remove the second layer, and then do that again until you got all the layers removed. And there's 5 layers of bedrock. From what it looks like is that he removed all the bedrock underneath it before running the machine. So he's only going to use the machine to remove the top layer of bedrock, which that's just, I don't know, that's just weird. But the more important part is, how did he actually remove this bedrock underneath? So he actually apparently addresses this in the comments. He says that he wanted a smooth time lapse of the machine breaking the bedrock, revealing the netherrack, but the machine only breaks one block at a time. So I made a copy of the world and broke the bedrock underneath it in creative for the time lapse. But then in that world he ended up failing, and he thought it would make it interesting. But in the actual world, I had to build the machine 4 times to remove all the bedrock. So what he says, by the way, is this edited? Yeah, it's edited. I think I remember seeing a different version of this before. Oh wait, and he explicitly says that he would never fake a video. And yeah, he edited it. So anyway, so apparently this was done in Creative World, quite obviously, because I remember at first, I think maybe it's still here. No, he removed it from the description as well. Before, I think he hinted at, or he actually explicitly said that he removed all this bedrock underneath by hand. I'm 99% sure that he said that he removed the bedrock underneath this by hand, and there was no mention of Creative World. Because let me show you how tedious it is to remove bedrock underneath here by hand. By the way, let me give me some food. Alright, so this is the setup. You go like that, you place an obsidian or some blast resistant block, and by the way, take note that we're standing on blast resistant items here. 2 TNTs, a lever, and then you have to place some sort of barrier here so that you don't get blown away by the TNT. So what you do is you flick the lever, you go over here, and then you spam this, and then that would break the bedrock up above. So that's the setup you would use to break bedrock from underneath. Keep in mind that we're left with all this obsidian that we had to remove. It's just not a very fun time to remove bedrock from underneath. And as you can see, I actually got damaged quite a lot, so you have to eat a lot in between because otherwise you would just die from the explosions. But anyway, I want to demonstrate how long it would actually take to remove all this bedrock. So here I have a 4x4 square. Maybe that's even too much. I don't know. This might take a very long time. Not like excruciatingly long. But anyway, let's just start. So I'm going to time myself here. And yeah, we'll see how fast this goes. Alright, so I finished that, I broke all those bedrocks, and keep in mind it was only 16, and including the time you need to place obsidian, because you need to place obsidian so that you don't get knocked back by the TNT, and you won't be able to place the piston. It took me 10 minutes, 13 seconds, so just over 10 minutes to remove 16 pieces of bedrock. Now keep in mind, these are very ideal conditions. First of all, I had all the materials I needed on me. So I didn't need to go back to a shulker box or something to get materials. I had them all on me, so I didn't waste any time there. And of course, probably the main one is the floor was actually blast resistant as well. So if the floor was made out of netherrack, it would keep blowing up, and I'll have to replace it or something to be able to stand on something to actually place the piston and stuff. So yeah, these are very ideal conditions, but it took me 10 minutes. Now let's see how much bedrock you would need to actually break. Alright, so now let me show you a really easy way to actually calculate the amount of bedrock statistically that you're going to get in any given region. So the way that bedrock generates is that every layer, the chance of a bedrock occurring at that layer is decreased by 20%. So in the case of the nether ceiling, in the top layer, there would be 100% chance of bedrock. Then in the bottom layer, there would be 80% chance for every block, and then 60, and then 40, and 20, and so on. So therefore, you can easily find out how much bedrock there would be in a 100 by 100 area with this formula. So 100 by 100 is, well, it's 10,000, but you just make sure like this, I guess. And then 10,000 times, so 100% chance, which is just 1, plus 80% chance, which is 0.8, plus 60% chance, plus 40% chance, plus 20% chance, and plus 0% chance, but that's like, at that point, there's no bedrock. So these are each of the 5 layers of bedrock, the 100% chance, 80% chance, and so on. So this gives us 30,000 bedrock in a 100 by 100 hole. On average, like statistically, this is the amount of bedrock you should get. But also, by the way, we have to take into account that he removed the top layer of bedrock using a 3-way bedrock breaker. And the top layer of bedrock is just straight up 100 by 100, so it's 10,000. So we're going to subtract 10,000. So that gives us 20,000 blocks of bedrock that are not in the top layer of bedrock. Alright, so now let's convert that into the amount of time that it would take. So first of all, let's find the amount of time it would take for each block of bedrock using my test. So for me, it took 10 minutes and 13 seconds, and 13 seconds is that many minutes, so plus 10 minutes. And then it was that many minutes per 16 bedrocks. So it's going to take 0.63 whatever minutes per block of bedrock. Now, let's multiply this by the amount of bedrocks that he would need to break. That doesn't include that very top layer, so that was 20,000. So we get 12,770 minutes, point something. So this is in minutes. Let's convert this into hours. So divided by 60, that would be 212 hours. And let's say that he works on 8 hours a day, which is ridiculous. But let's say 8 hours a day, that would be 26 days. That would be almost a month of working exclusively on breaking bedrock for 8 hours a day. So this claim that he made originally, that he just broke all of it underneath manually, is complete BS. No one's spending 26 days breaking bedrock for 8 hours a day. Alright, so that pretty much threw that idea out the window. He did not break all the bedrock underneath it manually. But that's not the only claim he made. That was one of the claims he made. Alright, so first, let's see what's his claim as of right now. So his claim as of right now is that he made a creative copy of the world and broke the bedrock underneath in creative just for the time lapse because he wanted a clean time lapse or something. So that's his claim right now. But as you can see, as YouTube nicely has this feature, it says that it was edited, and not even once. So let me show you this screenshot. This is a screenshot that I saw in Desktop Folder's video, where Desktop Folder also did a video about debunking this whole idea of him breaking bedrock. But so this screenshot shows that he said that he previously broke the bedrock under the top layer before starting the machine, but chose not to show it as it otherwise too much time was spent showing the machines and not getting on with the video. So first of all, we completely discredited him breaking it manually. I'm pretty sure some people got the idea that he broke the bedrock manually. He did not. Now, he says too much time was spent showing the machines and not getting on with the video. So I'm confused as to what machines he's referring to, because there was only one machine that he used. There was the three-way bedrock breaker designed by Kennyall, but there was no other machine. So this was, I'm pretty sure, the previous edit to his comment. So this is another screenshot where he says bedrock breaker credit. Keep in mind this only breaks the top layer of bedrock, so I had to make my own machine to break the other bedrock. So there's one thing right with this section and two things wrong. So the only thing that's right about this section is that he gives credit to the person that made the bedrock breaker. And now there's two things wrong. First of all, it does not only break the top layer of bedrock. You can actually lower the machine, and that's actually part of his revised claim that he lowered down the machine. But let me show you what actually happens when you do have to lower down a machine. This is what happens. You get staircasing. So obviously this is on a scaled down version, but basically staircasing is when to make a new machine, you have to make a bigger hole than the hole you're planning to make because you need to fit each lower machine inside the previous hole. So basically what I'm saying is that you can't get flat walls with three-way bedrock breakers, at least not the modern three-way bedrock breakers without dragon eggs and stuff. With modern piston bedrock breaking three-way bedrock breakers, you cannot get smooth walls. But if we actually skip ahead in his video, look what we see. Smoothest walls ever. So the first machine will be able to break this bedrock, but the next machine would not be able to fit in here because the hole that it would make would be smaller than if you completely just press the machine up against the walls. So this is discrediting his newest revised claim that he just lowered the machine down 4 times. So this was just working on this statement that the machine only breaks the top layer of bedrock. So that's bogus. Now, I had to make my own machine to break the other bedrock. This is the most ridiculous statement I've ever seen. Not in general, but I mean, coming from him, this is probably one of the most ridiculous statements that could have occurred. So he had to make his own machine to break the other bedrock. That's straight cap because no machine exists that can break bedrock from below. And as you can see, the bedrock was broken from below, like before he ran the top three-way bedrock breaker. And no machine exists that can do that at the moment, and it's very likely that no machine will ever exist that can break bedrock from below because it's just so hard. It's like, if you don't exactly know how bedrock breaking works, it might not be clear why this is such a difficult thing to do. Because there are setups to break bedrock, of course, because that's what these three-way bedrock breakers use. But these setups, they all work from the top. So let me show you why it would be extremely difficult to make a bedrock breaker that works from the bottom. Alright, so here's the normal piston bedrock breaking setup that you would see on a three-way bedrock breaker. So the reason that this doesn't really work, or at least will be very hard to make work upside down, is because we use quasi-connectivity to butt these headless pistons. Because here's what happens if you just like remove a redstone block normally, right? It just doesn't stay as a headless piston. So you need it to stay as a headless piston, but you also kind of want to remove the power source, so you just do that. So power it with quasi-connectivity, and then remove the power source without updating the block. And the same thing, of course, for this piston, you would just power it with quasi-connectivity, and then remove that power source and this one. So this works all well and good for above the ground. But let's say we wanted to do the same thing underneath. So we're going to do the same exact setup. We're going to have a piston facing here, like that, and it has to have a power source, because otherwise, yeah, it would turn into a normal piston. So we need that there, and then we need to have a sticky piston here, like that, and it also needs a power source not to get turned into a normal piston. So this is all, by the way, stuff. Oh yeah, this piston needs to be facing upwards. So the problem is that what you would really like to do is do this, and then leave these pistons as butted. But the problem is that we have the nether ceiling like this. So you can't really quasi-power these pistons. So I was thinking originally what you could do is maybe have an observer kind of like here, quasi-powering that. So then you would give that a pulse and remove this, which just did that. And then remove the observer as well. But I think the problem is that you just don't have enough time to remove all of those things without causing a block update. I'm not sure, but anyway, it would just be really hard. So the point of this is that it would be stupidly hard to make a bedrock breaking setup, or an automatic bedrock breaking machine that breaks bedrock from underneath. It would just be nearly impossible. Alright, so that was this claim that he made his own machine to break the other bedrock. Absolute garbage. Like, the amount of people that can make these machines, or that have the skills to make these machines, are probably in the single digits. This is very much cap that he designed his own machine to break the other bedrock. Alright, so moving on from that claim, he later, or maybe this was even before, I forgot, but he responds to a comment that said essentially that this is cap, like the machine would only break the top layer, like the way you built it, it just broke the top layer. The guy that commented above didn't mention that you would need to move down the machine, and Beppo obviously doesn't know how these machines work, so he promptly decides to come up with another idea where essentially, so you can read this if you want, but I'm going to summarize this. Essentially, he says that he discovered a glitch that uses controversial mechanics that can break large quantities of bedrock. So hopefully, I don't need to explain to you why that's unrealistic. I mean, you would think that if such a glitch existed, it would have been discovered like ages ago. Also, he mentions that he didn't want to share it because some people would think that he was cheating. Well, unless you used slash fill, which you did, unless you used slash fill, no more people would think that you were cheating because of that than because of the normal bedrock breaking. Because I mean, in principle, it's just the same thing. You're breaking bedrock. It doesn't matter if it's on a small scale or on a large scale. If you discovered a new glitch that can break 100 by 100 areas of bedrock, first of all, I don't think that's a thing. And second of all, most likely, if you're okay with just the normal bedrock breaking, you'd be okay with that. So yeah, that's this comment that he made. He just basically mentions that he doesn't want to go into that glitch because some people would accuse him of cheating, because it's such a powerful exploit and etc. etc. But like, I mean, not gonna lie, slash fill is kind of a powerful exploit. So yeah. Anyway, that's pretty much it for all the comments that he made. So just to recap, he made about like I think 3 different arguments, or 4 actually. So first one being that he discovered this glitch that breaks massive amounts of bedrock. Second one being that he made a machine that breaks bedrock from underneath. Third one, not really sure if he actually explicitly meant that or if that was still talking about the machine, but he just said that he removed the bedrock underneath it using a different method, essentially. So, like, I'm not sure if he was referring to the machine or if he meant that he manually broke it, but either way, that's still cap. And finally, which is what is here at the moment, that he just made a creative copy of the world just for the time lapse. So he removed the blocks in creative, but in the actual world, he had to lower the machine to 4 times, which is also capped because then we would see staircasing in his bedrock hole. So, like, it wouldn't be a smooth wall. So basically, he changed his argument 3 times since the original one. So he made 4 separate arguments, and each one of them is bad. So yeah, that's essentially the whole recap of this Beppo bedrock breaking controversy. Now, if you would ask me what would be the most plausible one of those claims, I would say the last one, because it could theoretically be possible that he did remove all the bedrock like this in a staircasing fashion, starting with this 100 by 100 hole, and then he removed all the bedrock inside here manually. But of course, that would be a tremendous amount of bedrock. It would be less than breaking all the bedrock underneath at first, but it would still be an enormous amount of bedrock. So I think that one's probably the most plausible idea, but it's still not a very good idea. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Now again, don't go hating on Beppo. I think it's cool that you can make money like this, but at the same time, he's making money by cheating. So not exactly the ideal source of income, but I mean, there could be worse sources of income, I have to say. So, like, yeah, that's pretty much it, to be honest. I really hope you enjoyed this video. By the way, Tensor Mod has been kind of officially, unofficially released. Tensor Mod has been this little mod that I've been working on for a little while. Actually, not even a little while, probably over a year by now. Uh, on and off, mostly. But I added a couple of new features recently that I think kind of cool. So you're welcome to check it out. It's in my CurseForge. I'm not going to put a link in it in the description yet because the next video that I make is most likely going to be the official release of TensorMod. So there I will have links to the CurseForge and the GitHub and everything. So yeah. But that's pretty much it for today. Really hope you enjoyed this video. If you want to see more stuff like this, make sure to subscribe. But I'll see you in the next one. Bye.